And now for the most exciting part, the real breakthrough. You haven't just learned a recipe, you've understood the fundamental principle of creating a bioavailable nutrient. The secret isn't in the iron sulfate itself, but in that small crystal of citric acid, which acts like a key, unlocking the world of iron for your plants. You've just created, with your own hands, what laboratories call a chelated complex. And this isn't just a treatment for chlorosis, it's a powerful two-in-one solution. You're both nourishing your plant and shielding it from disease. You're not just watering, you're providing a true therapy, restoring health and vitality to your garden. So, to recap, this simple combination of iron sulfate and citric acid provides an incredibly effective and affordable solution. It quickly combats iron deficiency, restores a vibrant green colour to leaves, and acts as a preventative against fungal diseases. Thanks for sticking with me until the end of this video. I hope this simple yet powerful recipe helps your garden become even more beautiful and productive. If you found this information helpful, please don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new gardening secrets, and hit that notification bell. Now, a question for you. What homemade or DIY remedies do you use for feeding and protecting your plants? Share your tried and true recipes in the comments below. Let's swap ideas and learn from each other. Alright, let's kick things off with the star of our show. I bet many of you already have this tucked away on a shelf in your shed or garage. We're talking about iron sulfate, also known as ferrous sulfate. These distinctive, greenish-blue crystals are a familiar sight to any seasoned gardener. You can find it in virtually any garden centre or hardware store, and it costs next to nothing. Seriously, it's one of the most affordable and accessible tools a gardener can have in their arsenal. Typically, it's used to combat moss and lichen on trees, disinfect cellars, or for late-season garden treatments against fungal diseases, and it excels at all these jobs. Many old-school gardeners still try to use it as a fertilizer for plants struggling with iron deficiency. They'll just dissolve it in water and pour it around the base of the plant. But here's where the big mistake comes in. In this raw, unchelated form, plants can barely absorb the iron. It's like handing someone a solid iron ingot and telling them, "Eat up, you're low on iron." The results, to put it mildly, will be absolutely zero. But what if I told you that this unassuming little bag holds incredible potential? We just haven't known how to unlock its true power. Today, we're going to reveal its real magic. But iron sulfate itself is only half the battle. It needs a secret helper, one that truly performs all the magic. And I bet you already have this helper, probably right there in your kitchen. It's plain old citric acid. Yes, that familiar white crystalline powder you find in a packet, the one we add to baking, use for preserving, or even descale our kettles with. It costs even less than our main ingredient. Who would have thought that this humble kitchen staple is actually the key to a healthy garden? Citric acid becomes that magical translator that explains to the plant how to absorb iron. It's like a caring guide, taking those clunky iron ions by the hand and delivering them directly where they're needed most. Without it, our recipe simply won't work. So go ahead and grab that trusty packet from your shelf. Real garden magic is about to begin. So what's the magic behind this powerful combination? It all comes down to some simple yet elegant chemistry. By mixing iron sulfate with citric acid in water, we initiate a chemical reaction. Picture this. The iron ion is a precious, yet rather fussy passenger, and the citric acid molecule is a comfortable taxi. The citric acid taxi surrounds the iron passenger, forming a protective organic shell around it. This new structure, essentially an armoured limousine for iron, is known in chemistry as iron chelate. The word chelate, by the way, comes from the Greek word chele, meaning claw. And this accurately describes the process. The acid molecule literally grabs the metal ion in its claw, shielding it from external influences. It is in this protected form that the plant can easily and almost completely absorb iron, both through its leaves and its roots. We're not just mixing two substances, we're creating a brand new, bioavailable compound. So let's finally reveal the secret behind our impressive claim, 200x efficiency. Where does this figure come from? It's not a marketing gimmick. It's pure biochemistry. When you apply a standard ferrous sulfate solution to a plant, most of it, up to 99%, quickly binds with other elements in the soil or on the leaf. It transforms into an insoluble, inaccessible form. To put it simply, the iron effectively turns to stone. The plant senses its presence, it's right there, but it's unable to take it up. It just sits there, an inert mass offering no benefit. But our iron chelate, shielded by citric acid, is a completely different story. It readily passes through the cell membranes of the leaf. Its uptake is almost complete, nearly 100%. Now consider the difference. Minuscule fractions of a percent in one scenario versus nearly 100% in the other. That's a colossal difference. This is precisely why you see the effects of this treatment not after a month, but literally within just a few days. The plant receives a powerful boost of exactly what it needs, in a form it can readily utilize. What about cutting costs by half? It's surprisingly straightforward. Just head into any garden centre and take a look at the fertilizer shelves. You'll find attractive bottles or packets labelled iron chelate or easily absorbable iron. That's precisely what we're preparing ourselves. Now take a look at the price tags. You'll notice these pre-made products cost significantly, often several times more than their individual components. So, what exactly are we paying extra for? For the brand name, the fancy packaging, the marketing, and simply for someone else having mixed these two components for us. A bag of iron sulfate and a bag of citric acid combined will cost you, about the same as a cup of coffee. From that small amount, you can make dozens of litres of our miracle solution. Yet, for the same money, you'd only get a tiny quantity of the pre-made chelate, barely enough for a couple of applications. So, essentially, we're crafting a premium, highly effective product with our own hands, saving at least double, if not triple, the cost. This is smart gardening in action. Maximum results for minimal expense. Alright, we've got the theory covered. Now for the main event, practice. Let's get right to the recipe. Make sure to remember, or even better, jot down these simple proportions. We'll be preparing our elixir using a standard 10-litre bucket or sprayer as our reference. So, for 10 litres of water, we'll need just 1 tablespoon of ferrous sulfate. Yes, just 1. Use a standard level tablespoon, no big heaps. If you have a scale, for greater precision, that's roughly 20. No more than 25 grams. You don't need more. What's crucial here isn't just the concentration, but the correct chemical form. Got that? 10 litres of water, 1 tablespoon of ferrous sulfate. The first component is simple and straightforward. Now let's move on to the second, equally important one. And now for our secret ingredient, citric acid. How much do we need? The ratio here is even simpler. We'll need exactly half as much citric acid as iron sulfate. So if you're using 1 tablespoon of iron sulfate, you'll need half a tablespoon of citric acid. In terms of weight, that's about 10 grams. This is a crucial 2-to-1 ratio, 2 parts iron sulfate to 1 part citric acid. Why is this so important? If there's too little acid, not all the iron ions will be able to chelate properly, which will reduce the effectiveness of your solution. On the other hand, if there's too much acid, it could be detrimental to your plant's delicate leaves. So, the golden rule of our recipe is that 2-to-1 proportion. 1 tablespoon of iron sulfate to half a tablespoon of citric acid. And that's it for the ingredients and their quantities. This really is the fundamental part of our process. Now pay close attention. I'm about to reveal the single most important detail in this entire preparation, one that many people overlook. The order of operations is absolutely critical to the success of our whole endeavour. You can't just dump everything into a bucket of water and stir. We need to approach this like proper chemists. Grab a small jar, about half a litre in size, pour in some warm water, ideally between 40 and 50 degrees Celsius. Warm water will significantly speed up the dissolving process. And here's the crucial part. The very first thing you add to this jar is citric acid. Not the vitriol, but the acid itself. This is absolutely essential. We need to create an acidic environment first, essentially preparing our taxi for a vital passenger. Stir the water thoroughly until all the acid crystals have completely dissolved. Make sure the water is perfectly clear. This initial step is the foundation for the correct chemical reaction. Once the acid has completely dissolved and your acidic solution is ready, add a tablespoon of ferrous sulfate to the same jar. Pour it in and stir thoroughly once more. This is where things get really interesting. You'll witness firsthand the very chemistry we've been discussing. Right before your eyes, the clear solution will begin to change colour. It will become a light orange, much like fresh orange juice. Now don't be alarmed. This isn't rust. This is actually the telltale sign that the reaction is proceeding correctly. It's the colour of the newly formed iron citrate, the chelated form we've talked about. If you see this vibrant orange hue, congratulations, you've done it. You've successfully created the concentrate for our powerful elixir. There's just one final step remaining. Once your orange concentrate is ready and all the crystals have dissolved, you'll need your main container. This could be a watering can or the tank of your sprayer, which should already contain 10 litres of clean water. Now, simply pour the contents of the small concentrate bottle into the larger container. But that's not all. You'll need to mix everything thoroughly again to ensure the concentrate is evenly distributed throughout the water. You can use a wooden stick to stir, or simply agitate the sprayer itself. The water will also take on a slight orange tint. That's it. Your powerful solution is ready for use. As you can see, the entire process takes no more than 5 minutes, but those 5 minutes will bring immense benefits to your garden. Simple, quick, and incredibly effective. Let's discuss safety and a few crucial technical details. While our components are common household items, basic safety precautions are still essential. Always wear rubber gloves. Ferrous sulfate, especially in its concentrated form, can leave stubborn rust stains on your skin and also cause dryness. Secondly, and just as important, when preparing your solution, use only plastic, glass, or enamel containers. Absolutely no metal. That means no galvanized buckets or aluminum pots. Here's why. Our solution, especially the concentrate, is a chemically reactive substance. If it comes into contact with a metal surface, it will react with the metal itself, instead of reacting as intended. The result will be a completely different compound than what we need, and the entire process will be ineffective. A plastic bucket, a glass jar, or an enamel basin, these are your best allies for this task. When is the optimal time for application? This is a critical question, as it directly affects both the effectiveness of the treatment and the safety of your plants. The ideal time is early morning, immediately after sunrise, when the sun's rays are still mild and won't cause scorching. Alternatively, late in the evening, after sunset, once temperatures have dropped significantly. Cloudy, windless weather is also an excellent option. The main rule is to always avoid treating plants under direct, intense sunlight. Why? Because water droplets on leaves during hot weather act like tiny magnifying lenses, concentrating the sun's rays. This can lead to microscopic burns on the delicate leaf tissue. Even though our solution is mild, it still contains a degree of acidity. Therefore, to ensure you're helping your plants and not inadvertently harming them, always choose a cooler time of day or an overcast day for spraying. Ideally, there should be no rain for at least several hours after application, allowing the solution sufficient time to be absorbed. This treatment is a real lifesaver for so many plants in your garden. So, which plants particularly crave iron? First and foremost, of course, are the queens of the garden. Roses. They're often the first to show signs of chlorosis, with their young leaves turning an almost ghostly white. Coming in second are hydrangeas, especially the big leaf varieties. For them, enough iron isn't just crucial for health, but also for ensuring those vibrant, richly coloured blooms. Your fruit trees apples, pears, plums, and cherries will also thank you profusely for this nutrient boost. Grapes are another strong candidate for this essential treatment, as chlorosis can appear very dramatically on their leaves. But let's not forget the vegetable garden. Common veggies like tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, and even strawberries are incredibly responsive to a chelated iron feeding. Essentially, it's a universal tonic for almost every plant in your garden and vegetable patch. Okay, our solution is prepared and the timing couldn't be better. Now let's discuss the application method itself. The most effective approach is foliar spraying. In scientific terms, this is known as foliar feeding. Simply pour our solution into a sprayer. Whether it's a small handheld mister for a few rose bushes or a larger garden sprayer for your entire landscape, our main goal is to thoroughly wet the plant leaves on both sides, top and bottom. Why is this crucial? Because it's through the tiny stomata on the leaf surface that the chelated iron is absorbed most rapidly, entering directly into the plant's vascular system. This is emergency first aid for your plants, starting to work literally within a few hours. You'll see noticeable results with your own eyes in just a few days. Yellowing leaves will begin to regain their green colour, and the entire plant will appear more vibrant and healthier. It's the most direct and efficient way to deliver this essential nutrient exactly where it's needed. But remember, moderation is key. Our solution isn't just plain water, it's a powerful, concentrated formula. And just like any potent medication, it shouldn't be overused. While iron overdose is rare, it can still have detrimental effects. So, how often should you apply this treatment? If you're using it preventatively to keep your plants healthy and robust, 1 to 2 applications per season are usually sufficient. For instance, once at the start of active growth, typically in May or June, and again in midsummer. However, if you observe clear signs of chlorosis, meaning you're treating an existing problem, you can spray the plants 2 to 3 times, but always with an interval of 10 to 14 days. Allow the plant sufficient time to absorb the applied nutrients and respond. There's no need for daily applications. Remember, in gardening, just as in medicine, the golden rule is do no harm. A common question that arises is whether this solution can be applied directly to the roots. The answer is yes, it certainly can. Plants are capable of absorbing chelated iron through their root system as well. Even this method is far more effective than simply using regular iron sulfate. However, there are some important considerations. First, root application requires significantly more solution, especially if you're treating a large tree. Second, the effects of root watering will be slower and more gradual. It takes time for the iron to be absorbed by the roots and then transported up to the top leaves. Foliar spraying, however, acts as first aid. You're delivering the nutrient directly where it's needed, and the effects are almost immediate. Root watering, in contrast, is more akin to a planned long-term therapy, working for future benefits. Therefore, if you're seeing clear signs of chlorosis and need quick results, foliar spraying is undoubtedly the best option. However, if your aim is to comprehensively improve overall soil health and nutrient availability in the long run, then root application can also be beneficial. What else can our solution do besides tackling iron deficiency? And that's where another great benefit comes in. Iron sulfate, as you may know, is an excellent fungicide. In other words, a powerful agent against fungal diseases. And in our solution, it retains these properties. Therefore, when you treat for chlorosis, you're simultaneously providing a mild preventative against unpleasant diseases like powdery mildew, various leaf spots, apple and pear scab, and downy mildew on grapes. Of course, this won't replace a full treatment with specialised fungicides if a disease is already widespread. However, as a preventive measure that strengthens the plant's immunity and suppresses the development of fungal spores in the initial stages, our solution works superbly. It's a double benefit in one bottle. We nourish and we protect. And now, let's debunk a very popular yet utterly useless gardening myth. You've probably heard or even tried it yourself, burying old rusty nails, cans, or other metal scraps under trees and bushes. The logic at first glance seems ironclad. The plant lacks iron, so let's give it iron. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. The iron in rust is in its so-called trivalent oxidized form. This form is completely inaccessible to plants. For a plant to absorb even a tiny particle of iron from that nail, extremely complex and very slow chemical processes would have to occur in the soil. This could take years, even decades. By burying nails, you're essentially just cluttering the soil with scrap metal. It's like trying to quench your thirst by placing a sealed bottle of water next to you. The water is there, but you can't drink it. Our Chelate method, however, is like giving the plant that same water, but already in a glass, ready for consumption. Another crucial organisational detail: the prepared solution must be used immediately. Once you've mixed it, be sure to apply it within the next few hours. It simply isn't suitable for storage. Why is that? Over time, the chelate complex formed with citric acid starts to degrade when exposed to light and oxygen. You'll notice the vibrant orange colour gradually fading, and a brownish sediment may appear at the bottom. This means the iron is reverting to its useless, non-absorbable form. Essentially, the solution loses its effectiveness. So, only prepare as much as you plan to use in a single session. Don't mix up a large batch, expecting it to last you a week. A freshly prepared solution is always the most potent. Think of it like fresh juice. You need to drink it right away to get the maximum benefit. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, learn to observe your plants closely. They will tell you when they need help. Chlorosis presents with very distinct and easily identifiable symptoms. The earliest and most reliable indicator is the yellowing of young leaves at the tips of new growth. The leaf blade itself yellows, or even whitens, while the veins remain a vibrant green, forming a distinct net-like pattern. This is a classic sign of iron deficiency. If left untreated, older leaves will also start to yellow, shoots may begin to dry out, and both flowers and nascent fruit will drop. Don't wait until the situation becomes critical. The moment you observe these initial symptoms on new leaves, act immediately. The sooner you apply our recommended treatment, the quicker and easier your plant will recover, once again gracing you with its vibrant health and abundant yields. And now for the exciting part, the real game changer. You haven't just learned a recipe. You've grasped the fundamental principle of creating a bioavailable nutrient. The secret isn't the iron sulfate itself, but that tiny crystal of citric acid. It acts like a key, unlocking the door to the world of iron for your plants. You've essentially created what labs call a chelated complex with your own hands. And this isn't just a remedy for chlorosis. It's a powerful 1-2 punch. You're both nourishing your plants and protecting them from diseases at the same time. You're not just watering, you're providing genuine therapy, restoring health and vitality to your garden. So, to sum it up, this simple combination of iron sulfate and citric acid gives us a super effective and economical solution. It quickly combats iron deficiency, brings back that vibrant green colour to leaves, and even helps prevent fungal diseases. Thank you for watching this video to the end. I hope this simple yet powerful recipe helps your garden become even more beautiful and bountiful. If you found this information helpful, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new gardening secrets, and hit that notification bell. Now, a question for you. What homemade or traditional remedies do you use to feed and protect your plants? Share your tried and true recipes in the comments below. Let's exchange tips and tricks.